Now that the block is over, it's time to start a process we call tweening, which is obviously changing from these beautiful plateau tangents into spline tangents of some sort. So at this point, I'm going to go to my Settings and Preferences window, go back to my animation area, and I'm going to set my out tangent to just be a spline. And that's because I may be putting in new keyframes as I do this, and for that, I want them to be splines. I've also got all of these animation channels, and if I select everybody I've got right here, that's a lot of animation. Now, at some point, because you have 120 frames, you have probably used every single channel. So I'm not going to go through and remove anything that I don't think I've animated, even though I've only done about 60 frames, so I haven't used everything. I'm going to take all of my beautiful spline tangents, all of my beautiful plateau tangents, and they are the equivalent of this little button right here. I'm going to shift over to plateau tangents, and that's going to give me those nice flat tangent handles, and now you can see everything turns into a wave rather than a step. The only thing I am going to delete is the placement visibility animation. I know I don't need that one. It's ridiculous. Oh, and you know, I'm not doing scale animations. I should just get rid of these scale channels. Okay, I'm sorry. I said I wasn't going to clean anything up, and then I cleaned things up. So, that's it. I have splined my block, and now if I press play, that's what I got. Now again, my animation is way simpler than yours because I'm only doing the first 60 frames, but even with this, it needs a little tweaking, especially in here where we're jumping. So I'm going to pop into my graphs, and I'm just going to go through one at a time. Here's my placement control. Here's my root control, which is the thing I'm actually using to have the jumps happen. And that's going to be this translate X graph. So I'm going to take these two keys, I'm going to break them, and that's going to allow me to get a better little jump. Good. Okay, so now we'll actually be taking off. I like it. The next thing I want to do is I just want to check the tail, because it looks like between here and, let's see, between here and here, the tail might be poking through the ground a little bit, and the body is definitely poking through the ground a little bit. So I'm just going to go back and make sure that we are at no point poking through the ground, because that would be bad. How are we doing here? Okay, then we're up, and then we are back down. Good, I probably should have been more careful with that on the block as well. Because the more careful you are on the block, the less you'll have to do with the tween, but that's okay. The tween is mostly for cleaning things up, breaking your tangent handles, and doing other fun stuff like that. So now we've got a better animation for the root control. So we'll just go through and check the other things out. I think the top control is actually looking pretty good. I like all of the motions the ears are making. I like the shapes the ball is making. I am concerned about the tail, so what I might do is I might add a series of new keyframes. So maybe in addition to an up motion, we'll give the ball, the tail, a little side-to-side motion. So it'll go here, then here, then here, then here, and now is the part where we back up. So So maybe for the backup, I'll just do like every second frame, we'll pull it to one side or another just so that it keeps continuous motion, because I think the tail needs to be in continuous motion. That's a big expressive part. And again, we'll just kind of curl it this way and curl it this way, curl it this way, and let's leave that centered. So now I'm going to make the tail less dramatic on these frames because I don't want anything to detract from the ear. So it's too much drama. Just really slight movements through this part. But maybe when we get to here, we'll go a little more dramatic. Okay, let's take a look at that. Okay, not bad, not bad. The other thing I want to do at this point, I'd mentioned this earlier, I only did squash, I didn't do any stretch, so I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add a stretch keyframe here and a stretch keyframe here, and then we're squashed, and here we're going to stretch back up. And we'll pull that back up. So the tween, like, it should just be tweaking. Sometimes that's going to mean more than other times. Sometimes you see you don't have enough character. Sometimes you're like, oh, my animation just isn't finished, let me do a little bit more. So the block is for like timing and spacing, basic poses, do I have the emotion I'm looking for? And then tweening is for making things look nice. So obviously this is an unfinished animation, I've only got 60 frames complete. You're going to have a little bit more, but I hope that this demonstrates the process of blocking and of tweening. I know I went through it really quickly, but in the graph editor, the two buttons you need, this one is step tangents, that's for blocking. This one is plateau tangents, and that is for your tweens. So good luck. I hope that this process goes easily for you, just as smoothly as it went for me, and enjoy yourselves with your beautiful, complicated animation.